Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? I am very excited about this panel because it brings together a lot of passions of mine: cinema, locations, tourism, music, everything that we love, the creative industry. Today, we are going to be talking about how that book you loved, how that TV series you binged, how that movie that made you dream has influenced the way we travel, and how, in return, the tourism industry can strategize and benefit from such locations to obviously make the experience of travel and tourism optimal. I am very happy to have an eclectic bunch of panelists today. They come from different backgrounds, and they will all have extremely interesting inputs into our conversation. Diego Bunuel is French. He is the head of the content creation at France Télévisions Studios. Welcome Christopher Kenna, who is the CEO of MediaStream AI. Also, a round of applause for Richard Quest, who is the international business correspondent and the anchor of Quest Means Business on CNN. You know him already. And Paul Pacifico heads the Music Commission at the Ministry of Culture here in Saudi Arabia. So as you see, we have a lot to talk about today. So they were talking about Emily in Paris, and now a show like Emily in Paris has dynamized the tourism. I am sure that Paris had a very robust tourism before the series was so popular. So what is the direct impact? I want to start with the theme of direct impact. Diego.
No, what was very interesting with Emily in Paris is that Paris is already a global tourist destination, one of the biggest ones in the world, and yet Emily in Paris was able to increase still another 20%. So what's incredible with this is that you already have a city that's a big tourist attraction, and content can still make it one step more. And that, I think, shows the importance of how a city that's as well known as Paris can talk to a new generation, because this is what we're talking really about in Emily in Paris, is a whole generation whose parents wanted to go to Paris, but now their kids want to go thanks to Emily. And after a few seasons in Paris, she's now moving to Rome.
Yes, exactly. It's called Emily in Rome now.
And to show you the impact that Emily in Paris had is that President Emmanuel Macron asked the producers to keep her in Paris, you see?
And sometimes it dynamizes a whole industry. I'm talking about, Middle Earth and, Lord of the Rings and all those movies that make a whole region so dynamic. Richard, from your point of view, how do you feel that it kind of changes the lives of the infrastructure of tourism?
Right. First of all, to a large extent, it's not new.
Yes.
I remember, I'm aging myself here rather badly, but I remember in the 1980s visiting, I really am aging myself, but I visited South Fork Ranch. Now, anybody South Fork Ranch? Thank you, you're not that. Yes, thank you. Dallas, the original J.R. Ewing Dallas. And that had made itself a tourist destination just outside Dallas. So this is not a new concept per se. What's happened is it's gone onto steroids. Everywhere, every venue, so we've been filming Quest World of Wonder, and the one thing that keeps coming up again and again, everywhere I seem to film, there has been a scene film from Game of Thrones, and the number of people who are there just to see that is quite extraordinary.
Yes.
And part of me understands it. Part of me thinks, is that really why you want to come to this phenomenal landscape? Because you've seen it in a fictional context.
And in the age of social media and things being so quick, people come in, they take their picture, and they don't stay. How can we make them stay? How can we entice them? Paul, you may answer that one. To make the experience a longer, more meaningful, deeper one.
That's a great question, and I think you've nailed it by saying it's about experience. What's very interesting between fact and fiction, I was in New York last year, and I went to a meeting right by the apartment building that was used in the TV series Friends.
Yes.
And there were a load of people taking photos. Now, what's really interesting is there you have a building used in a fictional way, in a fictional setting, in a fictional series.
That was filmed in Burbank, by the way.
Yeah.
Not even in New York.
People are quite, or the outside was in New York, but people are quite happy to sort of suspend disbelief and kind of almost insert themselves into the friend's narrative by taking a picture of themselves in front of that building. What's interesting about music is these are not fictional characters or fictional settings necessarily. These are, you have real artists who inspire people in a real way. And I think my experience of music tourism, or music as a driver for tourism, is certainly that it does accompany a long dwell time, whether that's people going to a music festival like Glastonbury or Woodstock and spending days there, whether it's going to Camden in London because Amy Winehouse was there, or whether it's going to Nashville, or all of these music centers are around living an experience, not just a selfie of you on set.
Yes. And about rediscovering the creative world that you have loved, like going to Stratford-upon-Avon for, a Shakespeare experience, etc.
Yes.
So it is as old as much older than Richard said. I mean, basically, we have gone to destinations because of our love of creative things. How can AI identify and optimize all of this?
Well, I think the amount of data points that AI can pull in to increase personalization means that it's inherently going to be a better way of getting content in front of you that you really want to see or even hear. Spotify was using a version, it was more of an algorithm, not AI. But, now the human brain only has 86 billion data points, I believe, and I've just built an LLM that has 270 billion. So it's like 3 human brains. So it can take in more data. It can then use that data to make a personal experience. And I would also argue, does it matter what inspired you to visit somewhere? You're there. Now it's up to, most of the people in this room to keep you there, to make it an enjoyable experience, to make it not just a selfie. And to get the most they can from you, and for you to get the most you can from the location. So I don't, what's the difference between an ad and the building being in a movie? I did have an embarrassing experience about 3 weeks ago where I just went to Notting Hill. I'm from Manchester, the other side of the UK. Went to Notting Hill with a friend, and then I was just tired, so I just sat down on this wall. And I was wondering why everybody kept standing in front of me, looking annoyed, trying to take a picture. I didn't realize it was where 4 Weddings and a Funeral was, like literally, because it's just a blue door, and a lot of people were there. Embarrassed myself, but I can see, who cares why if that brought them to the UK, I'm happy. Builds our GDP, makes our country better.
Yeah.
The zebra crossing of the Beatles.
It got so bad in New York where they did Sex and the City. The house where Carrie lived in the village, which is a real house, obviously, and it has a real stoop with steps, that they had to put a chain across it with a little sign saying, please do not sit on these steps, because there's so many tourists coming along. Now, I filmed recently we were doing a World of Wonder in Sicily, and we filmed at the hotel, the Four Seasons, where they did White Lotus. And we talked to the general manager, and he said, he was clearly completely torn between having this hotel. He kept wanting to say in the interview, we're not the White Lotus, we're the Four Seasons. But we are really, because that's bringing in hundreds. And sure enough, there were people outside taking photographs. Now, I don't know what the shelf life is on that. I suspect it's a few years. But it's a fascinating experience when you see it in action. Absolutely.
But, to bring it back to Saudi Arabia in a way, what's very interesting today is that the kingdom has developed major cinema studios across the country. In Alula, there's 3 just in Riyadh, there's also in Jeddah. And I think that the idea that today, tomorrow, soon, Saudi Arabia has the possibility to become its own content nation. We talk about nation states. I believe that there's a moment now where we have to talk about narrative states. This is what Korea did. This is what Turkey's doing with their drama. And what's interesting is it's a political vision of how you will make your own country. You won't wait for other people to tell your story. You will decide that you need to tell your story to Western audiences with your perception of things. And no one knows better a country than the people who live in it. And I think that when you discover the natural beauty, because we're talking about fiction, but there's also documentaries, there's also animal documentaries, there's a whole fauna, flora, places to discover, and I think that the emotional connection that content drives and gives people is fundamental. And this emotional connection is what makes people want to stand in front of Carrie's thing because she saw her for so many years and lived with it. Same thing with four weddings and four weddings and a funeral. And I think that today the question is, what are the stories we're going to tell about Saudi to create, to generate a passion, an interest, an emotional connection to the country and to the places in the country?
And the emotional connection will be easy because the locations are so raw and beautiful. Like first time I went to Al Ula, I felt like I was on the set of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Of course.
You know, I come from the cinema industry. I know that a soundstage could look very nice, but if you're going to New Zealand for Lord of the Rings, it gives you a completely different emotional feeling. So talking about that, how important is the emotion when it has to do with tourism, with filming, with music?
I mean, if you want me to jump in, we're talking about emotional entanglement, and I think that was a really, really good point that was raised about telling your own story so that you create the conditions in which that emotional entanglement takes place, and you make sure that that's an authentic encounter. You know, we're doing that at the moment in the Music Commission with the Saudi National Orchestra and Choir.
Traveling the world, you were
Traveling
in
the
Versailles
world,
and
taking this incredible group of very talented musicians and singers, positioning them on great cultural stages in different locations. And it very deliberately has two purposes. One is because most of our international audiences and guests around the world haven't really encountered Saudi culture before, and certainly not Saudi music. So it's introducing them to Saudi music in a setting that we can, I wouldn't say, you know, we sort of set the terms of that encounter, and we do it in a beautiful location, in an iconic cultural stage to show them that this is a cultural moment. But at the same time, there's a really important domestic narrative, which is that Saudi music is significant, it's culturally, has significant cultural value, and it has worth that sits it alongside any of the cultures from established or mature markets. So whether that's sitting alongside the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London, whether it's performing at the Château de Versailles in Paris, it's making that really strong statement to build confidence in the domestic audience. The domestic culture has that level of value and that level of richness and seriousness.
Yeah.
And also to mix the cultural backgrounds.
Yeah, and there's one aspect that's also very important is come for the set. Come for the, you know, we talk about jet setting and now we're talking about set jetting, which is people come for the set. Stay for the people, stay for the culture. And I think that's the thing. The TV show, the documentary will break the first barrier. I want to go there. And then it's our job and this audience and the industry to what's the culture we're going to offer? What's the relationship we're going to have? I think it's very interesting because the warmth of welcome I've had, it's my second time now in Saudi. You guys have been there many times, but the warmth and welcome is something that you can't make up. You know, you can tell stories, you can do things, but when you have this human contact, and I think that was very important. I think the Minister of Tourism was talking about this the first day during the opening ceremony, that this, you know, AI can't replace the human connection. AI can help you get here, but then you need this humanity.
Exactly.
I was going to add as well, let's not forget it's a hot market for people using film and TV to get people. So think about tax benefits. Them tax benefits aren't given to the movie because the 500 people working on the movie are going to raise our GDP. They're not, you know. It's only 500 mouths, so they're only going to eat so much, and in 3 months they're gone. That tax credit is given so that that place is in the movie, so 2 million people will come. So it's a hot market to get people there, you know. The better tax credits, the more movies that'll get made, the more movies that get made, the more people that'll come, you know. So I think we shouldn't mistake, you know, why these things are done in government.
And the industry benefits
immediately. Look, the battle for the studios and for the locations is phenomenal. Tax credits play a huge role in it. I mean, you've also got the whole question of unionized versus non-unionized labor and where it's most advantageous to work and all those sort of things. But you take, for example, destinations like Vancouver. Now, the UK, obviously, with Pinewood and all the various studios in and around the southeast of the UK, has a core base of competence that is pretty unassailable, like Hollywood. Same with some other parts, but the way in which Atlanta, Georgia, has just suddenly come in and put fortunes into it. Vancouver.
Albuquerque.
Sorry?
Albuquerque,
Yeah.
with Breaking Bad, which became a new hub of content production.
Budapest.
Budapest. But what you're mentioning, Richard, is very interesting because what we're talking about really is an industry, the movie industry. And this industry can and has to exist in Saudi because the studios are built. Now the question is, what is the content that we're going to be able to fabricate, create, push to audiences and train a whole generation of young Saudis to become grips, electricians, camera operators, DP, and that's what's very interesting is that we're at the cusp now of if content is king, the famous quote, and if TV series have the ability to create this regular season 1, 2, 3 where people really engage themselves in it, you can create an industry here also with training young people.
Right, but look at the way, but Jordan did this extremely well in terms of playing heavily, not only with the Jordanian Film Commission, but also with the landscape for The Martian and all of those movies where they took advantage of it. So it's perfectly possible to grow from a very, very low start all the way up to quite a sophisticated level of a movie industry when you put the resources behind it. Because everybody's looking for the next new thing. Everybody wants somewhere different. And you're right, the tax credits are crucially important to the producers just to make the bottom line. But for the country, it's all about showcasing and what can we then sell off the back of it.
And building a local infrastructure of talents. And we're not only talking about direct talents in a film, we are talking about the technical crews, the people of, sound and
actors.
light and actors.
Because as you get as you get programs being filmed here, local actors will become stars. And that's what's very interesting. We're in a global... Listen, I was at Netflix when House of Cards came out. House of Cards is a Spanish TV show. It was not produced by Netflix, bought by Netflix just to be distributed. It became one of the most important global sensations. And what was very interesting, there was a big discussions with Cindy Holland, who was head of American series. The question was, should we do a remake of Casa de Papel in English? And there was a big debate, and they said, you know what? We are ready for international language series to live on their own and not have to do remakes and redos in English language. And they left it, and then they bought the rights to keep on doing season 2, 3, 4. And that's very interesting. I think that tomorrow, what will be, and this is the question we have to ask ourselves, what will be the tentpole TV series with a global ambition that will come out of Saudi?
Squid Games.
Squid Games.
Squid Games.
I mean, just look at Squid Games and
a huge phenomenon.
The
Of course, very
phenomenal
watched
success
in the
of
whole
that.
region.
But go back 30 years, 40 years. How many of us, and I'll speak from the entire arrogance of the English-speaking world, how many of us in the arrogant English-speaking world would watch subtitled programs?
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, we're a
Because we are
strange crew.
But you know my point.
not born English.
But remember, the big break for Korea was Gangnam Style.
Yes.
That was really the Gangnam Style, remember? Everyone
I think you should show it.
I know. Do the thing. But Gangnam Style was really the moment when this
Yes.
K-pop
And
bubble
K-pop, of course.
kept on growing and growing and growing, and suddenly it burst on the international scene. But why did K-pop and what we call K-drama, K-pop, and K-care for all the skincare and so on and so forth, why did that happen? That happened because the entire industry, government, policies, economy were behind the K trend and saying, we will use this as our soft power. I mean, South Korea is half a country.
Yes.
North Korea is South Korea. It's half a country. It came out of a war in '54 where there was nothing there. They built an industry first, and then they said, okay, we make phones, we make fridges, we make cars. We need to make culture. And they did it the same way.
I don't think I'd call it half a country. I'd say it's got a border with another country.
No, but it used to be a bigger
I
country.
get it.
And it
But you've put your finger on it, you see, and it's the same thing in travel and tourism that the region has done where you have joined up policies. And in K-pop, of course, there was an element of, and K-drama, directive policies from the top. If you look in the kingdom, if you look in the UAE, there are policies that mesh the whole thing together. Look in the UK at the difficulty of getting it together. I mean, something as simple as tax-free shopping in the UK, which the government got rid of.
Yes, it's gone away now.
Gone away. And how's that for you?
France.
Oh, guys, we can't bash the UK. I can't.
No, I don't know. It's a policy it's this idea of joined up policies that succeed. Now, thankfully, in the film industry, there are joined up policies because it's such a massive industry for Britain that they have worked out. It has to work together.
So
I think
how important
sorry, I was
is
going
it
to say, just to come in on this, I think the key difference now, as opposed to 10 or 20 years ago, though, is the amount of data that reinforces just our own experiences that have been described, that there is an increasing porousness to foreign language content. So 20 years ago, how many foreign language hits broke globally? So you think back to Enigma from Belgium, or there are very few that probably we can think of. Coming forward from the Macarena to Gangnam Style, you see it starting to increase. Populations around the world are listening to more and more content in more and more different languages. So the rise of, in music, the rise of genres like reggaeton, the rise of Afrobeat, the rise of more and more different eclectic music styles from around the world, K-pop, J-pop now internationalizing in a way that it hadn't done before.
Turkish
so I think
series, very big in the Middle East.
the centralized policy making that Richard's talking about, that we see having worked in Korea, has more chance of working because the market is there. So it's not just government top-down pushing content out. It's actually also a market that's much, much more receptive. So I think starting now, Saudi has an extraordinary leapfrog opportunity where you look at entrenched structures in mature markets, the difficulty that was just described in the UK, for example, and you think, what could you do if you started today without that baggage, without that sort of ossification of the structures of the industry? What could you actually make happen? And I think the example of K-pop is interesting, has lessons to be learned from it, inevitably. And the fact that there are fresh sounds here that haven't been heard globally, fresh places. I mean, look at the integration of Hegra into Assassin's Creed recently. You're going to have a generation of kids playing that game who are going to have that emotional connection with Alula that would have been impossible 10 years ago.
My question is, how important is it for the tourism industry to strategize, in the sense that sometimes the success comes overnight and spontaneously, and then the industry has to follow. But now with what, new technologies and AI and social media is telling us, we can be at the forefront of it and strategize and create that next location that's going to be extremely successful.
I'd say AI, a lot of the problems that everybody's mentioned, so let's talk about language, and people don't want to read subtitles. We have a model that can in real time change anyone's language into about 120 other languages with their voice. So it also it means everybody's not going on strike and saying, it can fix the problems.
Yes.
Also, let's not kid ourselves. AI has been turning a place in Turkey into a sci-fi scene. It used to be banks and banks of people that would do each pixel, and for the UK, it was exported to places like India to actually do all that rotoscoping, etc. Now you can do it for 1/100th of the cost in 20 times faster. And so now you can bring in places that you actually probably was too much work to bring that place into a movie, because it's not sort of, it's very rarely it's the actual scene of the place that's the final thing that's in the movie. Where they add buildings, I don't know, they add orcs running over sand dunes or whatever it might be. And that all, took money. But now AI has meant that cost has come down, the speed has come down. We can make more because of, throughout this, and I know we're one of the last here today, but throughout, within tourism and within the general wider society, people are a bit scared of AI. But actually, there's a lot of the problems, whether it's tourism, whether it's content that it can fix and quickly and cheaply. And I think it should be embraced for that.
No,
I'm here for that.
Yeah, and I think that when we talk about content, we have to understand that it's not homogeneous. I mean, obviously you have short form, long form, films.
Everything.
So and I think, as you said, AI is going to drive the cost down for all of these things, and it's going to be a real financial revolution on how we can do, Hollywood-grade quality at a much lower rate. Movies that used to cost $150, $200 million will cost half that tomorrow. But what's very interesting is to understand that in this strategy, this content strategy that we imagine, because we're in Saudi, we're talking about Saudi tourism, we're talking about how can we get people to come, how can we change perception of Saudi also in the Western audiences or in other audiences. And I think that that has to do with a true build-up. You have factual can be rolled out fast, so you can make documentaries, you can make digital programming, YouTube, and so on and so forth. Then TV series, then movies. But it can't be a one-shot, because we live in an environment where there's so much content being poured down our throats. I love how we call the feed, It's not a feed, it's a fire hose, you just so much stuff. So how do we exist outside of that, and how do we make Saudi culture, you talk about music and so on and so forth, emerge out of the general noise? And I think that now there are tools with AI, there are tools with YouTube where we can now target audiences specifically, where we know that this content that we're going to produce is going to be interesting for females 25 to 35, urban, in Western Europe. No. You push the buttons and you can push the content directly. And that's going to be a real revolution, where everyone says, where do you want to distribute the things on Netflix? But Netflix is complicated. You have 200,000 films and you only have 12 on your screen that you can scroll through. And that's a very big difficulty.
So we're going through this debate at the moment with Quest's World of Wonder, because the new series is starting. We've got 12 destinations that we'll do over the next year, and we want to incorporate AI in it, because we now know that we obviously know that everybody's using AI to some extent in the way we travel. In fact, my entire holiday this year was sorted through AI, and it worked. But we're having this debate about how do we incorporate AI into the show so that it's value added. So we asked 2 or 3 AIs themselves, how should we do it? And prompting backwards and forwards, and then we finally got to a modus operandi where the AI agrees we are not a crutch, we are not there to tell you things you should do, we are there to sort of enhance that which you've decided to do. And so the way we're looking at it is, first of all, how we use it on screen, the graphic representation of it. But secondly, so for instance, we're going to use it in things like, if we're in a particular scene or in a particular location, get an AI to recreate what it would have been like
Back in the day.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in a market square and there's one of 4 ways I can go, just say to the AI, which one should we use? Which way should I take? Which do you think has got the best prospect? And see what it says. But it's really difficult to make it so that the AI enhances, doesn't substitute or become the main event.
Do you know what I'd do?
Go on.
Especially if I was working in Saudi tourism. We all have 2 screens now. We're still in this panel talking as if there's only one screen. You're watching a movie. No, you're not watching a movie. You're watching a movie and you're on your phone. Just like everybody that's watching us, I'm sure you're really listening to us. It's the best panel you've ever listened to.
Sadly, says the movie
But,
girl.
we're on second devices. So I would use AI to make that second device personal whilst the main screen is somewhere. So wherever you are next, I would have it. Then you're obviously going to have an app.
Yes. We're using all of them over the course of the series.
Right. So you've got the CNN app.
Yeah.
So the CNN app asks you permission. Can I have permission to where you've been and to your photos? And if you say yes, I don't know if everybody would, but you might do. Then as you're in a place, it actually shows on your screen you in that place, or says, I know you like this, this, and this. I've made an itinerary for you if you do go to Saudi, because because that's on the screen. And then that has already done half the work, because we're still mentioning AI as if it's Google search. You're not meant to search on AI. It's meant to make decisions that you weren't ready to make, or with lots of data points and come with a good, a good forward plan. It's not.
And I think that if there is content created in Saudi for the global audience, this integration with AR will be fundamental, because I'm watching either on there's we could call 4 screens, so your phone, a tablet or a computer, the TV, and the movies, or ad banners, in the world. Those are the contact points with your eyeballs, with your audiences. So with these 4 screens, if you see something you like, you see an incredible place in Asir, for example, in southern Saudi. I'd like to see that. I'd like to go. And so your AI can look at it for you and immediately offer you, do you have $1, $2, or $3 types of travel you want to do? And immediately that AI can show you, okay, we're going to take you there, it's going to cost you this.
Personal.
Are you traveling with someone? Yes. Girlfriend, wife, kids, And it can build out in seconds a travel recommendation, a price point. It can check the best flights, the best things. So I think that content...
How do you prevent it from getting in the way? How do you prevent it from becoming the main event so that your focus starts to become the AI element rather than what's in front of you?
But that's like your holiday, Richard. How did you prevent it from giving you spontaneity in the sense of discovering things?
We set the agenda and we then put it to one side. And occasionally, if we were in a village square, we would hold up the phone to a church or whatever it is and say, this is very interesting. What more can you tell me about it? And it would come up with a whole load of stuff, which is, unfortunately, what you're saying is a Google search, basically. But,
yes.
But it was very rewarding. But it was very rewarding to do that because one got that. But this back to this idea of you want to get away from the damn screen.
Yes and no, because the damn screen will give you the fastest way, the cheapest way, the best way to go visit the place that's real. And I think that's what's fantastic with AI. It's that right now it's a clunky system. You have to enter, you talk to it, you take a picture of it. Soon it will be always on.
Well,
and it will hear what you're saying, and you say, man, when will I ever get to visit, Jeddah?
And
it will hear that. And it's going to look in the background. It's going to say, oh, this is a good price for Jeddah in 2 weeks,
We haven't really integrated it yet,
Yes.
Like, it's not actually integrated yet.
Yeah.
It's still over there, Countries are going to need to build their own models. Businesses are going to need to train their own models. At the moment, there's only a few of us that have trained models, and then you're all having a little play. That's not AI. We've just built the first window so that now you can go away and take that model and train it just for tourism. It would be your own model housed on your own data centers. And with your, it gets rid of that privacy and security issue because it's in your country, it's your model, it's your data center, and then you can really use it. Now, you can start to have APIs into different parts of the business, give it as much data as possible, and really use it to do what AI is for. An algorithm gives you a list of holiday destinations. That's not AI, that's an algorithm.
Yes.
It is, here is 200 destinations. You're going to give me a bit of data, and I'll shorten that to 20. That's an algorithm.
I think
AI does more, a lot more.
I agree, and I think that's the big hope for the next step, is that, generally the experience of algorithmic search and content delivery is to narrow the funnel. So you have an overwhelming, array of choice on, you mentioned Netflix or Spotify, any of the streaming platforms, audio or visual. You have too much choice. So it's getting rid of that choice anxiety and spoon-feeding you what you probably will want to see next according to your prior activity. What that does is it narrows our choice, puts us in a real echo chamber, and I think limits cultural curiosity or the ease of then finding stuff that's completely different. My hope for the future with AI is that the predictive models get good enough to say, you've never heard anything like this, you've never seen anything like this, you've never been anywhere like this, but we think you might like it. And I'll tell you why. In the music industry, whether it's a Grammy or a Brit Award, whatever the big award shows, the Breakthrough Artist Award, on average, is won by someone who has had a professional career of a minimum of 10 years. So the Breakthrough Brit Award winner, the first Breakthrough Grammy Award, they've already been a professional for 10 years. It's not a surprise to the industry. It's never a surprise to the industry. We've been following those artists for a decade or more. But it is a surprise to the public. So AI has this incredible opportunity of sourcing those data points really early. And whether it's the next trend, the next fashion label, the next holiday destination, the next movie, the next whatever it is, the next restaurant.
The next it thing.
It's going to pick it up earlier, it's going to serve it to more people, and it's going to create the experience of surprise and delight that I think is missing from the digital services that we have at the moment.
But the 10-year thing, Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, which basically says if you do anything for 10,000 hours, you will achieve a level of success that, I mean, is AI going to pick up, this person is at 9,473 hours and therefore is just about to, or is this AI going to pick up, but this is at 4,000 and I can predict it's going to get
yes,
to.
Yes, but we're talking here a lot about AI, and I'm just going to bring it back to content, because content has to be created today, meaning scripts, written, talent, emotions. What's being poured in now, obviously AI helps, and I use it every day to write my stuff, but the content is something that takes a little time. You can't rush stories, and when you do rush them, you see examples, just turn on your TV, bad shows, bad films, and so on and so forth. So the importance of finding out what is the story we want to tell. And let's talk again about Saudi. What would be the first Saudi film with intention to attract international audiences? What would be the first TV series, the first doc series, the first digital campaign that would be geared at saying, come and see us, discover, come here. And the AI will move around it and guide you and help you and carry you. But the creation, the emotion, the storytelling, I always say, with giga projects, you need giga stories. And that is what I feel today in Saudi. You have the infrastructure, we're seeing it, the food, the hotels, the getting around is there. But we need strong stories to tell the world what this country is about, what the culture is about, what the people are about.
I would challenge that you could do that with AI. I'll even, when I get back to the UK, I'm going to have a go at making a 1-minute, totally by AI. Honestly, I'm going to do it and I'm going to send it to you. Film about my time in Saudi, but I'll make it when I'm back in Manchester in the rain, because I have loved it here, like absolutely loved it. The last time I was here was 2003, and it's just, I've loved it. Like, it's beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm going to take that challenge to do it. And the answer to yours on AI won't say they're going to make it at 4,000 or 6,000. It'll say they're going to make it the day after they were born, because it will have picked up all the data of their parents and where they are and where they're likely to go. And that is how strong AI will be. It will predict it from the earliest data point it can get on.
Yeah.
So it's...
But to your point, 1 minute, sure you can make the greatest.
Okay, I'll do 30
90 minutes is going to be more of a challenge.
give me 30 minutes.
Okay, good.
All right, I'm going to do it, and I'll even share it with TOURISE.
Hey, if his 1 minute is really good,
it will be. It will
it'll
be really
be excellent. Where's it going to get it from?
Well, so I'm going to make it totally with AI, and then I will send it to. Well, I'm going to
where's
do
it
an
going to
interview
get
with you.
Where's it going to get your input from?
His creativity.
Prompts. Just prompts, just based on me explaining to the AI the emotion I had here, the buildings.
Yeah, but you see, it
things
comes
I've
back to
seen.
your emotion and your prompts will be carried by your
Yeah, because
emotion.
AI, it's cleverer than us. Well, scientifically,
we are too much out of time to discuss the emotion of AI, aren't we? However, before we wrap this panel, emotion is extremely important in the entertainment industry and in the tourism industry and in the music industry, because it's with emotions that people connect. And this is where I would like to wrap it today. Thank you so much for the amazing conversations, you guys. I think we could have spoken for hours about a subject that motivates everybody. Thank you for being here. A round of applause for our panelists today.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's cool.